Did it get lonely? Like, can you talk about some of your experiences of what it was actually like? Did it get lonely?
Yeah, no, I mean it was. I didn't have kids at the time. Now I have kids. I can't even imagine it. I've been married for 5 years at the time. My wife hated it. I hated it. I describe in the book the experience of being stuck. If I remember correctly, it was like Ohio, at this truck stop in the middle of nowhere, and sitting on this concrete barrier and just watching fireworks in the distance and like eating Chinese food on the 4th of July. And, my wife calls me from like the family barbecue, and our anniversary is July 8th. And she's like, "Are you going to be home?" And I'm like, "I don't know. Um, I have a cousin whose husband drove truck, as a truck driver would say, drove truck for a while. And he told me before I went into it, he was like, the advantage you have is that that you're not going to be doing this long term. Like, and Lex, I can't even the emotional content of some of these interviews. I mean, I would sit down at a truck stop with somebody I had never met before, and you open the spigot, and the last question I would ask drivers was by the time I really sort of figured out how to do it, the last question I would ask them is, what advice would you give to somebody, like your nephew, a family friend asks you about what it's like to be a driver and should they do it? What advice would you give them? And this question, some of these, grizzled old drivers, tough guys, that question would, like, some of them would break down, and they would say, I would say to them, you better have everything that you ever wanted in life already. Because I've had a car that I've had for 10 years. It's got 7,000 miles on it. I own a boat that hasn't seen the water in 5 years. My kids, I didn't raise them. Like, I'd be out for 2 weeks at a time. I'd come home. My wife would give me 2 kids to punish, a list of things to do, on Saturday night. And I might leave out Sunday night or Monday morning. I come home dead tired. My kids don't know who I am. And, it was just like, it was heartbreaking to hear those stories.
And before you know it, life is short and just the years run away.
Yeah.
Hard question to ask in that context, but what was the best part of being a truck driver? Was there moments that you truly enjoyed on the road?
Oh, absolutely. There's definitely a pride and mastery of, even basic competence of sort of piloting this thing safely. There's a lot of responsibility to it. That thing's dangerous, and you know it. So there's some pride there. For me personally, and I know for a lot of other drivers, it's just like seeing these behind the scenes places that exist in our economy. And I think we're all much more aware of them now after COVID and supply chain mess that we have. I don't know if we'll talk about that, but you get to see those places. You get to see those ports. You get to see the place where they make the cardboard boxes that the Huggies diapers go in, or the warehouse full of Bud Light. I moved Bud Light from like upstate New York, and the first load went to Atlanta. Mm-hmm. And then a couple months later, I circled back through that same brewery, and I brought a load of Bud Light out to Michigan. And I was like, holy shit, all the Bud Light, for this whole giant swath of the United States comes from this one plant, this cavernous plant with like kegs of beer. And you see that part of the economy, and it's like you're almost like you're an economic tourist. Mm-hmm. And I think everybody kind of appreciates that, it's almost like a behind the scenes tour. That wears off after a few months. You start to see new things less and less frequently. At first, everything's novel and sort of life on the road. And then it becomes just endless miles of white lines and yellow lines and truck stops. And the days just blur together. It's one loading dock after another.
So you lose the magic of being on the road.
Yeah. It's very rare the driver that doesn't.